don't go train them again. Because some of the things that you talked about are bad training are actually because you're training against the wrong problem. They know how to do it. And if they know how to do it, you've really got to get underneath that. But let's go follow that logic about if they didn't know how to do it. So you've got a task they don't know how to do. You say, well, what is it that we want them to do? And you kind of outline the process. You guys have done that. You talked about over here at this table, you talked about the training where they just sent out the manual and they didn't do anything else with it. We think about what it is you want them to do. You think about how you're going to train them, and you get very specific. Now, I love these learning objectives that I read in some classes. We want people to be aware of. We want them to understand. When was the last time you watched someone understand? Many of you parents would like to know what that looks like in your children, I'm sure. So you have to really get to action words. What is the observable behavior that I want to see people doing? They're able to articulate, calculate, overview, summarize. What are the real tight behaviors that they look at? And you write those out, and then you end up with really good learning objectives. Then you go get a really good training group to go train to those learning objectives, and you go do training. Now, good training also has to have the good room, not too cold, some snacks, a comfortable chair. All those things help. But the biggest thing that helps is not only having really tight learning objectives, but as adults, people want to know why I need to know this stuff. You know, the days of somebody telling you just to go to school for reading, writing, and arithmetic are over. As a kid, you go to school because somebody tells you to. You take the curriculum that they tell you to take because you're supposed to do that, to go from one grade to the next grade, to go on to get my college degree, etc. You do it because everybody else tells you to. But you're always focused on the future. I've got to do this to get there. As adults, well, we're not quite so easy. Adults want to know why I need to know this. I have been perfectly fine my entire life up until this point without knowing how to do that, and I'm not sure why I need to know how to do it right now. So if you send me to training and I don't believe I need to go, how much attention do I pay? 0. It really doesn't help me get any better at anything or be any more effective. And in fact, I call that wah, 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 wah. How many of you have been to one of those trainings this year? Show of hands. Yeah, that's what I thought, right? And you know, training isn't cheap. In fact, if you look at some of the studies, it takes about 40 to 80 hours to develop 1 hour of training. If you take into account the cost of the development of the training, the materials, the time of people to leave their jobs, get into that training session, the missed productivity there, all the training and reinforcements, etc. Quite honestly, in today's economic environment, you better make sure you're putting your money where your mouth is and it's the right thing, because we can't afford to waste the time or the money. So training is a good thing when it's the right problem and it's done well. So I go back to see Bill. Bill and I have had this conversation. And I said, okay, Bill, you told me about the things they were supposed to be doing, and then we talked about the things that they weren't doing. And I asked you to go back and look. Do they know how to do it? If I offered them $1 million, could they do it? They could do every single thing. I said, well, Bill, how's that additional training sounding now? He's like, well, yeah, that was the easy thing to do.